Good morning, children. So, this is the first poem that we are going to take up in class 12th. So, the first poem, because last only we have finished according to the board syllabus, you have given your exams of class 11th. Now, this is the first poem that we are going to begin in class 12th. That is the poem, The Darkling Thrush. Okay, Darkling Thrush. It's composed by Thomas Hardy. He was born on 2nd June 1840 at the place Dorset in England. Okay, this poet is known for his rural background and romanticism. Okay, this poet has even he's also known as a novelist. So he used to write novels also. One is like the very famous novel Mayor of Casterbridge and The Test, The Tea of Beverly's, and many other novels are there. They are all related with the rural background. Rural means simply related with the village life. Okay, related with the small town stories. So here, this poem, whatever we have, that is uh, the darkling thrush. The darkling thrush is a kind of a bird. Okay, so here I have written some points. Please go through with these points. That Thomas Hardy, 2nd June 1840, Dorset at England, and rural background and romanticism. He is known for such kind of poems and novels also. So here the first point which comes under for this poem is By the Century's Deathbed, 1900. Okay, this poem he is describing, or he is sad because the century is about to be over and a new century will begin. So a new century is going to begin, and that is why he is sad. So he is feeling melancholic for the all past days. Okay, then we have the second point here. This poem is published on 29 December 1900. This 1900 is simply showing you that it's a deathbed. Okay, simply the poet is feeling a lot of sadness because of the end of this century, and the poet was completely influenced, okay, by his melancholic despair. He's in the great mood of sadness. Which kind of mood is there? That is a sadness. And he's even not sure about the things which are going to happen, like the uncertainty that is completely marked in the Victorian age, the Victorian era, the Elizabethan era. At that time, Queen Victoria was there, so that's the age is known as a Victorian age when this poem was being composed. So the poet is completely influenced by this melancholic nature, or melancholic mood, that one the century is going to have an end. 19th century has just died, and the body, like whenever somebody dies, it is being cremated, his body is being cremated, his body is going to be like buried. So he's thinking that means 19th century is dead and now it is to be buried. So in the canopy means a kind of a cover formed by the clouds will come and they will form, because it's everywhere the dark atmosphere is there, but it is not for everyone, it is only for the poet, because he imagines, he thinks like that. Then he's saying, even the wind is also lamenting. The wind is presenting its the way of lamentation. Okay, and the poet looks very gloomy. The poet looks very sad for this. Then, this is the first part of the poem. Why the poet is sad. So we have a the darker face, so we have the brighter one also. A thrush, this darkling thrush, okay, the bird. Like the poet is simply sitting and just brooding over his melancholy mood, sad behavior or his sadness. So at that time, he heard a voice, a song by a small bird, darkling thrush. Okay, and that joyful song simply in his desolation, in his isolation, in his lamentation. It has created a kind of a heavenly atmosphere for him. He becomes so much joyful. Bird, he's thinking that this bird, maybe she is blessed, it is blessed by some godly qualities, that I am sad, but then also this bird is able to maintain its joyful nature. Then this poem also shows the contrast between the two opposite feelings. One is simply the sadness, and another one is simply the happiness or the joy or just being happy. Even the poem gives a note. Okay, nothing is permanent. The time must go on. The time will not wait for anybody. Okay, if you are not able to cope up with the time, then you will be left far behind. So change is the law of nature. This nature we have to receive. We have to get accustomed with such kind of nature of the laws of nature. And even sometimes that is not permanent in our life. Like suppose just now I am happy, then something can happen with me and I will be sad. So and again something will happen and then I will be again happy. So means it is a continuation process of day and night. And even this day, that death, it symbolizes in the form of winter. Okay, spring season symbolizes of the joy, the happiness, and the winter symbolizes of death. Death symbolizes of by winter, and even the entry of this bird in this kind of bleak winter, in this kind of landscape, which is symbolic of hope and extreme hopelessness. That means extreme hopelessness is there with the poet, but when he is in the at the like extreme hopelessness, at the height of extreme hopelessness in his life, at the same time he gets a joyful song by this darkling thrush, and he is surprised. Okay, and even in this poem, the song of birds which is being referred, it's a kind of a metaphor you might be aware, where it's an implied simile, okay, for the poet's own conscience. It is simply just like compared with the poet's own consciousness or conscious, as the winter landscape is a metaphor for the 19th century of the way out. Okay, so means this poem is describing that the poet is feeling once at the stage of hopelessness, but when he hears or listens the sound, the joyful song of the bird, the darkling thrush, then he becomes or he is in great surprise. Okay, so this was a normal introduction about the poem. So if we go with the theme of this poem, that exactly what is the theme of this poem, I'll just tell you the theme of the poem. The first theme of the poem is no end of life. No end of life. Then we have the second one, man versus nature. Then we have the third one, Preation. Preservation. This poem is dealing with three themes. One is the no end of life, then man versus nature, and then preservation. So this no end of life means what? Means the life must go on. how it will get continue, that is up to us. Okay, the life must get continue, so we should never be sad, we should never lose our hope if something wrong or something dangerous or something which is not favorable to us is happening in our life. Okay, there is no end of life. If I'll not be there, some other people will be there. Then we have man versus nature. Nature has created a kind of a law that there will be continuous change. So if we do not cope up with such kind of changes, then we will be left behind. So we'll have to accept nature, nature like as a mother, as a father, or as a supreme power. Whatever they are deciding, that is best. So you have to go through according to this. Like again, I'll repeat this phrase: change is the law of nature. So if you will not change yourself, then you will never be able to cope up with that kind of life. So be the change, be the part of this change, and then only you will be able to enjoy. Like the poet Thomas Hardy, who's who was just simply lamenting over the death of the 19th century. But actually, it's not a death of a 19th century. It's a beginning of the 20th century. When something will be dead at that time, only something will take birth. Like every day has an end, and then another day is going to begin or going to take birth. So simple, this is the law of nature we have to go through. Then we have preservation. Preservation means simply we have the examples. We should preserve the things. If we will not preserve, then what is going to happen? We will utilize it completely, but the other people, the next generation, the future generation, they will not have that much things which that much things which were available to us to them also. So we'll have to be the part of change, but we'll have to preserve the things so that the other people can also use it. Okay, so this was the three theme, these were the three themes of this poem that we will deal with this, and then we have some other things also related with the the critical remarks and the critical comments, and then literary devices are also there. Okay, as I told you that this poem is just like a metaphor. Okay, so it's a metaphorical poem. We have the use of personification, we have the use of metaphor, we have the use of similes, and we have the use of alliteration. Okay, all these things you were taught in class 10th, it is still there. So metaphor, simile, personification, alliteration, all these things are there. So we'll go with the line by line of explanation of this poem. I'll go through with first them. First we'll go through with the difficult word meanings part. It is a small introduction about the poem. So we will continue with the line by line explanation of the poem. Okay, thank you very much.